So religion is really important, and I'll cover that on the very next video. But so everyone knows who this is. Now have a look at his hat. Does it remind you of anything? Now the Vatican have actually got telescopes, 2 of them, some of the most powerful you can get, and one of them is called Lucifer. So you've got to wonder, the Vatican, do they actually know? Because they're not really looking up for God, they're looking up for something else, and they're not just doing astronomical surveys, because that could be left to scientists. So why would the Vatican have 2 of the most powerful telescopes? And that's because they actually are fully aware of what is going on. So go back to the hat there. So the next video I'll try and explain as quick as I can how I think religion started and why there's so many different types of religions now. Okay, this might get a few people upset. Please, nothing to do with me hating any religion whatsoever. This is just where I've been led down this path of research. Obviously, if you don't like what I'm saying, just walk away, please. But what I believes happened is Abraham, who was Homo sapiens sapien, who wasn't an Anunnaki, he could see what the Anunnaki were doing and how they manipulated people and how people worshipped them and did pretty much whatever they wanted, and revered them as gods. Now I believe that Abraham saw this and decided to create Judaism, which was the first one, or possibly the first religious sect out there. So he did that in, wait for it, Mesopotamia. Oh yes, funny, that's where, if you've watched all the other videos, you know why Mesopotamia is so important. So then other people started to follow suit and started creating their own religions to get the same power that he had and that the Anunnaki had. I'm just going to address the people that say there's hardly any information out there. The whole point of why I'm doing this is because there's no information out there, or hardly any information. And the reason why there isn't is because over the years it's been suppressed. If you believe the governments are squeaky clean and they'll tell you everything, then I've got some fresh air I can sell you. But they do hide things. Now there's these new sites popping up, fact-checking sites, which debunk things, and I'm slightly worried that these might be fake sites that are designed to make whatever you say, whether it's, you know, you've seen a UFO or whatever, and debunk you. Now there was a guy called Bob Lazar back in the 80s who allegedly said that he'd worked on a reverse engineering a UFO, crashed UFO, and everything that he said was debunked, but now it looks like he's actually was telling the truth. So I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not going to go and do your research. I've done 30 years of it. If you don't believe me, that's fine. So I'm just moving on slightly from the Anunnaki. We'll cover them as we go along still. But we're talking about now the universe and how the universe was created. And obviously the main theory is the Big Bang, but obviously there's the problem that what was before the Big Bang, and why isn't there more of whatever it was that created the Big Bang happening? But it expanded outwards, as scientists say. So if we take the analogy that it's a bubble, and one of these bubbles, the actual, what makes the bubble up is matter. If the adjacent bubble bursts and the matter goes inside our bubble, then that could be creating the stars, the universe, etc., and also would explain why the universe is expanding, and eventually our bubble will pop and whatever's in our bubble will go into the next bubble. So this would also help with the adjacent multiverses and multiverses and things like that. So it's a possibility. People talk about us being in simulation. Let me just quickly tell you a story about a bloke that kneeled up against, with his head up against one of these stones, which is a stone doorway, ancient. He was told by the locals to hum a certain frequency. He did that, he disappeared. His wife was standing there outside or standing back and saw him disappear. He ended up in a room where this voice telepathically spoke to him and asked him questions, etc. And it turns out in front of him was this force field that was holding in a universe. Now the universe was our universe. So they basically sort of said that they created some sort of device that was a bit similar to our Hadron Collider, where they would experiment, and unfortunately they created a universe, and now they have to keep it locked in because obviously there's people in